أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربي زدني علما رب ارزقني علما حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير يا أيها الناس أنتم الفقراء إلى الله والله هو الغني الحميد اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه توكل الله وكفى بالله وكيلا الحمد لله رب العالمين سبحان الله وبحمده سبحان الله العظيم. So patience and forgiveness are deeply interconnected, deeply. And in this order, patience and forgiveness. It literally is in this order. And mostly we separate these two as if they're two different qualities or practices that we need to be able to find the resources to act out. But it's not true. There are two different resources which are deeply connected together. And one cannot be accessed without the other. Forgiveness cannot be accessed without patience. And which is why we're going to be talking about both of these together. The other one is that when we speak of both patience and forgiveness, we tend to believe that it is for other people. We need to practice, and these are our beliefs, current beliefs, that we want to practice patience to be able to go through this relationship, to be able to go through this circumstance, to be able to be in this place, which is a place of wounding or a place of pain. So we want to exercise patience to be able to deal with, we believe, outside circumstances. And similarly, when it comes to forgiveness, we believe that we need to exercise forgiveness for other people, give forgiveness to other people, again, on the outside. But the beautiful thing about patience and forgiveness is, or actually anything really, but since we're talking about patience and forgiveness, is that they don't exist in the outside world. They only exist here in our hearts. And when we believe that we need to be patient with somebody, what we're actually saying is that I need to be patient with myself. When we believe that we want to forgive somebody else and we're not being able to do that, what we're actually saying is I want to be able to forgive myself and I'm not being able to do that. So feel into this. Patience is not for other people and for events happening in your life. Forgiveness is not for other people and what they've done to you and releasing them. It first starts from here. We cannot jump towards forgiving someone without first of all exercise patience within ourselves and then forgiving ourselves. Only then can we extend, because remember the principle. We cannot, अगर एक बर्तन में सिर्फ एक खजूर है तो हम लोग किसी को पुलाव नहीं दे सकते. We cannot give to anybody what we do not have. And if we are not being able to practice patience within ourselves, if we're not being able to forgive ourselves, we cannot extend the same to other people. And the beautiful thing, and I'll talk about patience first, the beautiful thing about patience is that mostly it is believed that it is, I have to stand here until these things blow over, until the storm passes. And all I have to do is stay rooted here and hold on. And it's hurting, my hands are bleeding, my heart is hurting, and my legs are tired from holding on to this tree trunk that I'm holding on to very, very strongly. But the storm is raging outside and all I have to do is hold on. That's what we feel patience is. But patience, the beautiful kind of patience, the one that we in fact asked to practice, is an oasis in the desert, is a refuge in the storm. It is not you holding on to the tree trunks while the storm is raging. No, patience, in fact, think of it as a safe space, a shelter, a storm shelter. While the storm is raging outside, you go inside that storm shelter. And why do we go inside that storm shelter? The reason why we are asked to practice or we come into moments in our lives where we're asked to practice patience is because That storm is here to serve a purpose. The purpose it's serving is to ask you to go inside that shelter storm. The storm is not here to blow you away. It's not here to tear your limbs apart. It's not here to unroot you. No. The only thing that the storm is here to do is push you into that shelter space, into that storm shelter. And visualize that storm shelter literally as it's impenetrable, like extremely hard, made of unbreakable iron metal kind of storm shelter, which is made for this. So patience is a safe place. It is a shelter. And why are all the storms and all the moments when we are asked to exercise patience? Those are hard moments, right? They feel like storms. And they feel like they're here to uproot us or to punish us. Because there's a karma being balanced and there's an energy system that's at play. No. The storm is sent by Ghafoor Rahim. The storm is sent to enable us. And therefore, patience is a place of enablement. Which is why, and it's not even enablement while standing naked and bare-limbed outside in the storm. It is enablement by going into that place of shelter, by going into that safe space. And why? Because Allah Ta'ala knows it's only by you going into that shelter will you be able to practice the resources you need, not just to come out and step back into the storm, but for the rest of your life. Because nature will be nature. Life will happen. Storms will continue to come and will continue to go. But every time a storm comes, instead of our first reaction being in a panic mode and feeling less and shattered, when we have been pushed into the storm shelter 1 or 2 or 3 times, and if we have received that shelter as a shelter from the storm, if we have received that shelter as one we've been enabled to build our resources, then when the 4th storm comes or the 5th storm comes or the 6th storm comes, it doesn't feel as stormy. It doesn't feel as destructive. And slowly we begin to dance with that storm by staying still or by dancing with it or by flowing with it. So now if the entire idea of the storm in our life is to push us into a safe space, which is the shelter, that safe space is patience. And do you feel now the difference? Because it is not jab storm guzar jayega to hum log isme se nikal jayenge. Nahin, what do you do in that safe space? Now go inside that shelter. Because till now we've established is that patience is a shelter within the storm. Now we go inside that shelter space. Now what is that space? Now mostly we believe that space is empty, it's dark, it has no windows, and we are alone there, and we ask to sit there and contemplate all the things we've done in our lives and like wait until the judgment is passed on you, so that either you will die of starvation in that shelter or the storm will just somehow subside and you'll be able to step outside. That is not that place. Because when you step inside that shelter room, you will see that it's beautifully equipped with everything that you need to make your stay extremely comfortable, and for also additional equipment that you did not ever have access to before, for you to build your soul muscles so that your limbs don't go weak, so that your mind does not go weary, so that your nafs does not take you to dark places. It's a beautifully lit, fully stocked, even with fairy lights and with your favorite bed and your favorite day couch and your favorite blanket and hot mug of cocoa or chai or whatever it is. It is that kind of shelter, but with additional equipment, because it's not just for you to rest. Yes, it is a place for you to rest. That's why it's so beautifully comfortable. Now it has additional equipment. And this additional equipment is not found outside this safe space. It's not found outside this shelter. It is not found, because this beautiful equipment is not of this world. It is not for your body, it is for your soul. And because this safe space has been built for your soul, the equipment that it's brings to you is only for your soul. You will not find it anywhere. And so it's a soul gym of sorts. And if you were to visualize now what that equipment looks like, it's not deeply customized to each human being because the soul muscles we're being asked to develop are the same, which is, number one, the first equipment would be how much deeper can you go within yourself to bring out the parts of yourself that you've been hiding, the parts of yourself that you hate, the part of yourself that you hold in judgment, the part of yourself that you hold in resentment, the parts of yourself which you hold in pity, the parts of yourself which you feel are too weak, the parts of yourself which you are almost disgusted by. So think of it as a drill, as a soul drill, which is found in this shelter. And this soul drill asks you to dig deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper within yourself to bring out those parts of yourself. Why? Because remember, the second step to it is forgiveness, right? So first of all, in this sabr, in this patience key space, which is fully equipped, we're being asked to drill deep within ourselves. And the deeper, why are we being asked to do that? Because what we had not understood so far before the storm is that all the people that we were blaming, all the circumstances of our life that we were blaming, all the events that we were holding to be responsible for our not being able to feel good enough or do good enough or feel abundant enough, all of those were illusions. All of those were illusions. Because the reason why we were not being able to, as we dig deeper, the reason why we were not being able to feel good about ourselves or receive goodness or receive abundance or receive beautiful things is because we had been hiding as we drill, had been hiding parts of ourselves which were deeply uncomfortable and almost like we'd held them in disgust. And as we begin to bring up those parts of ourselves, begin to bring up those blockages within ourselves, we're actually doing tazkiyah nafs. We're actually deep cleansing ourselves. Because we cannot, every time we're about to renovate a house, we have to take out the old furniture and things which do not serve us anymore to be able to bring in new things which are more in sync with our resonance, which are more in sync with our vibration, right? So this deep drilling process is the deep cleansing of ourselves to bring out all of the selves that we had held in disgust and in shame and in guilt. And so now you see through that drilling equipment, soul equipment that you have only in this shelter, which is not available anywhere else. Because outside this shelter, when do we have time to do this deep digging? We have groceries to do and children to raise and jobs to do and a house to run and our food to cook and friends to meet and all of those are valid dunya ki cheezein, but we don't have time for these deep soul digging. So a storm has to come because we may feel that we're going ahead in life completely okay because our limbs are working fine, our blood pressure is fine and we're sleeping well at night. But what is this heaviness that we're feeling? What is this not feeling full enough that we're feeling? What is this hunger that will not go away that we're feeling? What is this thirst that will not go away we're feeling? What are these things that we're feeling at all times that we carry within ourselves? And what is this heaviness that we're feeling, which is this full of stones kind of heaviness that we're carrying? And we may look well and we may talk really well and we be really successful in our jobs and maybe we can fake our way through even our intimate relationships, but there's something not okay. And there's something not okay will continue to be not okay unless we're not pushed by that storm into that safe space. And that safe space is the patience space. And so the first thing we ask to do through that soul drill is dig deep and bring out all of those things. ये कौन से stones हैं जो आप carry कर रहे हो? Which parts of yourself are carrying those stones that you asked to bring out? And those tones inevitably will be of shame or hatred or guilt towards ourselves, towards parts of ourselves. Although it feels weird, right? Because we feel we hate that person for what they did to us. But in fact, what we're actually saying, and this is the place of patience that we're asked to evaluate, that's enough that we're asked to do. When we say, I hate that person for what they did to me, what you're actually saying is, I hate myself for being okay or for staying in that place or for letting that person do it to me. And not going away or not speaking my needs or my desires or my safety into life. That's what we actually hate ourselves for being in that place. And there's a lot of shame that comes with it. There's a lot of shame and there's a lot of guilt because it feels like we've been into self-harm, which is why self-judgment, by the way, psychologically is self-abuse. Do you know that? We feel self-abuse is like addictions, and those are a more formed version, a dense version. Addictions are a highly dense version of self-abuse. But there is a less dense version of self-abuse. It is self-abuse, which is self-judgment. I hate the way you speak, Madhya. Aren't you ashamed of the way you walk? Aren't you ashamed of the way that you don't have control over the words that you speak? Aren't you, don't you feel guilty about being so human when you're supposed to be all spiritual? These are the things that we, in the soul digging moments, the soul drilling moments, we're asked to dig into deep down and bring up in that safe space, in that shelter, while the storm is raging outside. And the second thing we're asked to do is, because it is a lonely place, when we are in that safe space, and I'm calling it the safe space because it is a safe space. It's called patience. When we're in that safe space while the storm is raging outside, exercising in that shelter of patience, it tends to get very, very lonely. And in this very, very loneliness, this soul digging enables us to bring up parts of ourselves, and so that we have company, actually, first of all. Because we get to meet parts of ourselves that we had repressed for a very long time. And we have the bravery. Can you feel into how much courage it requires? Because most of us, and you'd notice that, can't look at ourselves in our own eyes in the mirror for a long time, unless we're shaving or putting on makeup or washing our face but then we're not looking inside, we're looking at ourselves. There's a part of us looking at we're not looking inside. But if I ask you to go lean into the mirror and look into your eyes for a while and hold that gaze for 2 minutes, it becomes extremely uncomfortable. And now I say 3 minutes or 5 minutes, you cannot do it. Because we're not used to going into the depths of ourselves. And that's what patience enables us to do. To go into the depths of ourselves and to bring out all those parts, and then to feel less lonely and more light. That's why patience is so beautifully talked about and so honored in our religion, because it's not a place of hunker down until the storm blows over. No, it's like, oh my God, it's soul gym time, guys. And how honored are you that you get to go to that soul gym and now exercise, do that deep soul digging and exercise whatever you needed to do to be able to bring out those stones from deep within you, put them in front of you as the people that you've suppressed, the parts of yourself that you've suppressed, and have a conversation with them. So that's the first part of it. And the second part of it is patience enables compassion. Because as we bring out right now, notice how it is nothing. Patience is not about by storm kaun sa raha hai. It's not, again, see, it's not about, because I have this abusive relationship, I must exercise patience. No. I have this abusive relationship, which is the storm around me right now. Okay, I have a safe space to go into, which is the shelter. And now all you're doing is meeting your own deeper depths, which have nothing to do with the storm right now. Notice that, because we come to forgiveness. So once we've done, so the one equipment that we have in the soul gym that we're into, which is the patience room, is the soul drill. Now, the other thing that we have is, so there's a liquid that bees emit. to fill in the cracks in their hives. And it's a beautiful, nurturing, nourishing liquid. And for bees to be able to emit that liquid, they first need to be able to acknowledge the fact that A, there's a crack. And the second thing is they have the resources to fix it. And that's very similar to what compassion feels like. Because once we've done the soul digging and we've brought up all the hard parts of ourselves, the guilty and the shameful and the disgusting parts of ourselves, now we must look at them as the cracks within our energy body, yes, but also the fact that we have the glue that can heal them. And what is that glue? That glue is compassion. What is compassion? Compassion is understanding. Understanding this crack is not here because, or the crack that you're calling a crack is not here to hurt you, is not here to punish you, is not here to teach you a lesson. This crack is here because you did not have the resources to do what you needed to do at that time. And therefore you allowed yourself, that part of you, to crack because you did not know what to do. You did not have the resources then. You did not know how to choose better for yourself. You did not know how to honor yourself. And therefore that crack showed up. But now as you're looking at that crack as the bee, you have the liquid to fill in that crack, which is through compassion, which is through understanding. So the second part of being in that safe space, in that hut with the soul gem of patience, the second step is begin to have a conversation with each part of yourself to understand more about why they did what they did. Because when I, for example, look back into one of the darkest times of my life, and I wish I could say this was one segment, but it was a perpetual long 20 years of the dark night of the soul for me. And when I look back into all of those segments, and when I began to meet the parts of different madihas who used to look different and dress different and speak different and wanted different things, when I began to have conversations with her, when I was pushed into that, into the soul gym, I began to realize that, I swear to God, in that moment, there was nothing else she could do. There's a deep, clear knowing that in that moment, with the resources that she had, नहीं था उसके दिल में इतनी वसअत, नहीं थी उसके दिमाग में इतना खुलापन, उसके हाथ तो बिल्कुल ही खाली थे, वो बिल्कुल ही सूखी हुई थी, उसके अंदर नहीं थी इतनी वसअत to be able to choose better for herself. And each time I have met myself in a different point in my life, I have received the same understanding. I did not know better. I did not know better. So how can I blame, or how can I hold that part of myself in disgust when she actually did not, what I speak of is when I actually did not have one limb and I had no idea how to swim, then how could I expect myself to swim across to the shore out of that sea, no matter how strongly harmful that sea was in that moment? I did not have that limb and I did not know how to swim. So when we begin to meet ourselves, we begin to extend compassion to ourselves. And that is patience. That is patience. A deep soul digging, meeting different parts of ourselves and being able to extend compassion to ourselves, and now see that you're so deeply involved in your own tazkiya and nafs that you're not concerned about कि storm को गुजरने में कितनी देर रहेगी. Because वरना हम लोग patience को अगर हम लोग इस तरह करें कि stay put until the storm passes, we giving all of our power away to the storm. As opposed to a storm is here, oh wow, soul gym time, run back into your soul gym. See whatever you need to is ready to be released. Because the storm is here because those things within you are ready to be released. You are ready to meet those people within yourself. You're ready to release that within yourself. That's why the storm is here. So it's a chicken and the egg situation. The storm, you're not in the soul space because soul gym because the storm is here. The storm is here so that you can be in the soul space because you're ready to release whatever does not serve you anymore. So the storm is here to serve a beautiful, beautiful purpose. And then why blame the storm? In fact, you say, Alhamdulillah for the storm. That means कि मुझे नहीं पता था, मेरा अलार्म नहीं लगा हुआ था कि मेरा सोल जिम जाने का, मैंने रिमाइंडर नहीं लगाया हुआ था कि मेरा सोल जिम जाने का टाइम हो गया है. But Allah, who is my Khalik, who is my Malik, who is the Malik of me, of my Ruh, He knows it's time for me. He knows the inner workings of me, and He gets that it's time for me. And therefore now He sends the storm. The storm is here, Alhamdulillah, for me to be in that soul gem. And so patience then becomes a thing of beautiful. It's building an oasis. In fact, not even building an oasis. It's when we look at it as an oasis in the desert. It's beautifully stocked. It's beautifully stocked. Like Hazrat Maryam comes to mind, right? When she would be inside her chamber, and when I forget the name of the prophet who used to come and look at her having received these beautiful, beautiful food and fruits that he'd never witnessed before. And it's like, where are you getting the food from? It's like, my Allah gives it to my Allah gives me my nourishment. He is my Razik. And so it's a beautiful, it is an oasis. Patience is not a brittle place or a dry place or a black, dark room with no windows. It is an oasis in the desert. The problem is the desert. The problem is not this oasis. And Alhamdulillah, in fact, desert is not even the problem. Alhamdulillah for this desert, because अगर वो desert ना होता तो oasis भी ना होता. अगर वो oasis में ना आती तो ना, not only would I have not been served the bountiful, beautiful ways that is Allah's system, also I would not have, उसी oasis में मेरे पास वो equipment है. वो equipment उस desert में पाया नहीं जाएगा. Of my soul drill and of my compassion extension. वो gym का equipment desert में नहीं है. It doesn't belong in the desert. It only belongs in this oasis, and this oasis is patience. And the reason why patience is honored is because when we begin to build our relationship with our Rabb, who is Subhan, then we don't look at it as an empty room that we've been pushed into to withstand the storm. We begin to receive His Noor, through which we begin to look at this place as an oasis instead, fully stocked and beautifully, uniquely stocked to build our own spiritual resources, soul resource, so that when the next storm comes, or the next storm comes, and the next storm comes, gently and slowly we'll be able to dance with it. And gently and slowly would be say, oh, Alhamdulillah. Again, reminds me, I'm not good with names. It reminds me of, there was a wali जिनका एक जख्म हो गया था और वो लोगों को हील करते थे. He was in the business of healing. और उनका एक जख्म हो गया था उनके कंधे पे. And people would come and say to him, it's like, why don't you heal yourself? What are you doing? और उनका जख्म बढ़ता जा रहा था और उसके अंदर पस पड़ती जा रही थी. It's like, why don't you heal yourself? You're in the business of healing everybody else. Why don't you heal yourself? It's like, it's been given to me by my Allah. This is my gift. And until I have not received the wisdom from it, I cannot release it. It will not be released. And if it's here, that means I've not received the wisdom from it. If I'd received the wisdom from it, it would have gone away. That actually is what healing is, by the way. It's not an otherworldly balm, not even a soul balm, not even a soul stitch. No. If the zaham is here, these are the resources that we build in that soul gem. If the zaham is here, it has a purpose. The purpose is to bring me a message. If I've not received the message, the zaham will stay. When I've received the message, the zaham will go away. It's really simple. That's what healing is. And that's what this oasis of patience enables us to do. And with patience, with sabr, is forgiveness. In that gem, do we learn how to forgive? And so beautiful that, again, forgiveness is, we feel we have to forgive our friends, people who have hurt us, our families, our children, whoever has hurt us. We feel we need to forgive them. Again, every time that we are saying we need to forgive somebody and I can't do it, I can't do it. What we're in fact saying is I need to be able to forgive myself. I can't do it. Forgiveness is always self-forgiveness, because we cannot give of what we do not have. We can only share what we have given to ourselves, what we have within ourselves first. So for those of us who find it very, very difficult to forgive people, we find it very, very difficult to forgive ourselves for being those people in those circumstances, in those moments where we, for example, took a lot of abuse, took a lot of any kind of abuse, and a lot of hurt and a lot of pain without doing anything. It's a deep thing to be able to forgive yourself for. And we're not being able to do that. How can I let myself do that? How can I let myself be that person? How can I let myself stay? This self-judgment is what we're carrying in not being able to forgive other people. And because Allah Ta'ala is the ultimate physician of the heart there is, and because He's created a universe which is actually created for souls first, He has, of course, given us beautiful gifts within His names to be able to exercise patience and forgiveness. The practice of patience is a practice. It is literally going to the soul gym. And it is only accessed through gratitude. It is only accessed through gratitude. It is being able to say when things are not working out for you in your mind is saying, look, this is not, you're trying, whatever it is, at work, in life, at home, in relationships, it's not working out for you, it's not working out for you, it's not working out for you. Being able to exercise patience means that we access the frequency of gratitude and say, Alhamdulillah, for them not working out for me, because that means it's time to go to my soul gym and dig deep and find out what is stopping me from receiving the ease that I desire, from receiving the abundance and the grace that I desire. What is stopping me? And so bring out those stone-carrying parts of you and extend compassion to them. And then the second part, forgiveness, is where the actual balm for your wounds comes in. Because at the time that we are extending compassion to ourselves, we need the frequency of forgiveness, right? So we practice patience. We bring up those people within ourselves. We see them in compassion. And the third step is we learn to forgive them. And notice how all of this is the inner work. It has nothing to do with outside events or nothing to do with anybody else. All of this is inner work. All of this is being done in that shelter, storm shelter. All of this is being done in that soul gym, which is called patience. All of this deep, beautiful, forever fulfilling, nurturing work is being done there. And at this final stage of forgiveness, once we've been in the soul gym, once we've extended compassion to ourselves, and this final act of forgiveness is where Allah Ta'ala's names come in beautifully strongly. Are the two names that are most associated with forgiveness. I'm going to open my notes on this one. Is Ya Ghaffar Ya Ghafoor. Ya Ghaffar Ya Ghafoor, both together. And, you know, it's so beautiful because the subject of forgiveness, it says subject of forgiveness and what forgiveness means to human beings immediately brings up our sense of self-worth. And sense of self-worth, when it is cracked with self-judgment, when it's cracked with self-hatred, that's when we're not being able to access the self-forgiveness. And when we don't have access to self-forgiveness, we can't forgive. When we can't forgive ourselves, we can't forgive anybody else. And so Ya Ghaffar, Ya Ghafoor, both of them have their root word. Very beautiful, actually. The same root meaning of covering. And what the root word is that it's covering over the cracks in a leather water skin using the sticky substance that bees use to repair their hide. So the water skins, the Bedouins carry the water in. When that turns, leather के अंदर जब cracks आ जाते हैं, तो उसको repair करने के लिए the sticky substance that the bees use. The root word of both Ya Ghaffar, Ya Ghafoor is in that. Subhanallah. And it is this like very earthy image, grounded image, human image that we are asked to approach forgiveness through. Literally sitting down and repairing the cracks which have appeared in that leather skin, carrying water. And water, of course, is divine love, is divine wisdom, is divine guidance. And interesting how Allah Ta'ala has used this as a root word, right? Because in the desert, if the water bag is leaking, you die of thirst. It's life and death. And we feel forgiveness is a self-forgiveness is an optional frequency that we can either tune into or not tune into. But it is life and death. That's where the root word is. Ya Ghaffar, Ya Ghafoor, ka root word is the difference between you staying alive and you dying of thirst. Subhanallah. Look at the depth of the root word of Ya Ghaffar, Ya Ghafoor. And then what it invokes, and now feel into the energy of Ya Ghaffar, Ya Ghafoor. Moisturizing, healing. Can you feel it? Like the stickiness of the bees as they're repairing, it's moisturizing and healing, nourishing. It's going deep into the cracks and filling in those cracks beautifully. In a nourishing, gentle way, but also strong, so that it can hold the water within itself. So that we can show up as our divine selves in our human bodies. You see the beauty of this. Baat wo leather, subhanallah, the word of Allah, right? Ek leather skin ke crack se, how beautifully he relates the human condition. Carrying this water of love and wisdom and divinity within ourselves. Yes, skin is cracked, and okay, let me heal that. Let's heal. Let's heal those cracks together. And Ya Ghaffar, the difference. Ya Ghaffar, the difference between Ya Ghaffar and Ya Ghafoor. Ya Ghaffar, as a sound code in Arabic grammar, is a continuous forever forgiveness. A continuous forever forgiveness. This is Ya Ghaffar. Forever, consistent. It's a beautiful hadith. There's a memorable hadith where a Bedouin says to the Prophet, what if I do this really bad thing? And Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, Allah forgives. And the Bedouin asks, but what if I do it again and again and again? And sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says, Allah continues to forgive. And then the Bedouin says, doesn't Allah ever get tired of forgiving? And the Prophet, subhanallah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you know what he says? No, but you might get tired of doing the same thing over and over again. Subhanallah. This is Ya Ghaffar. And feel into it. The one that holds the vibration of forgiveness so constantly and in such a stable, strong way. After a while, we decide to rest in it because this is so strong, this is so stable. We get tired of phadkofani, like a dead fish. Not a dead fish, but like a fish out of water. We tired of doing, gently, like literally get tired of doing this. Because the frequency and the stability and the strength of this frequency is so strong. And we access it through patience. We would not be able to access it if we were to spend the life in our whole lives in the storm. We can't access this. We can only access this in the soul gym. That's Ya Ghaffar, subhanallah. And related to this, its partner is Al-Ghafoor. And where Al-Ghaffar is repetitive and unending, Al-Ghafoor is deep. It's deep, it's penetrating, it goes deep. And so, for example, if somebody, and I'm reading from the notes that I'm sharing with you are from the book Physicians of the Heart, where Allah's names are used to treat specific psychological, soul, and heart diseases. And so in matters where we have been consistently feeling unworthy and in shame and guilt is Al-Ghaffar. But if we've been acutely feeling it, acute, like a deep feeling, immediate, like कि हम लोग उसे पैरालाइज हो गए, इमोबिलाइज हो गए. We're in the ICU of self-worthiness. That is Al-Ghafoor. And notice how beautifully balanced it is, right? If this was like a graph, it is a forever, and then there is the foreverness of it from the width aspect, and the foreverness of it and the depth of it from an acuteness penetrating aspect. So when we most need to forgive ourselves because we feel most at dis-ease is Al-Ghafoor. Notice the sound also of these words, right? Al-Ghaffar, the waves of the sea. Al-Ghafoor, depth of us. And Al-Ghaffar, Al-Ghafoor, Ya Ghaffar, Ya Ghafoor, help us in breaking through, being able to access the deeper parts of us, to be able to extend compassion to the depth of ourselves, and to be able to do that consistently, forever, such that we may be able to forgive the parts of ourselves that we have held in shame or guilt for a very, very long time, and such that the cracks of our skin begin to heal in beautiful, beautiful, nourishing ways. And now when this healed, now visualize, right? Ya Ghaffar, Ya Ghafoor, we've been in the soul gym, and the soul gym has, when you go into a spa, and there is this sound healing frequency that's also penetrating in, and you're also getting the massage and also building up the resources. And now, so this entire storm shelter of patience is equipped with all of these resources, and it's giving you all the most beautiful, nourishing resources. And now the storm is still ongoing. For example, storm has not subsided, but you feel that you feel full enough and healed enough to be able to step back. And this person, this healed, full of water person, this smooth-skinned human carrying the divine light, when they step out into the storm, there is a place of silence and a place of path that they find within the storm. They're not attached to the storm being there or not there. They will take people of patience. How do they walk? Slowly, not slowly, right? So now when this person exits the storm shelter, the storm is still ongoing. Each step is deep anchored in the earth, and they're walking slowly. So there's one step, and then they take the second step. और फिर जब उनको मजा आना शुरू होता है कि wow, I'm not being blown away by the storm. I'm fully full, fully rich, standing here deep, entrenched into the earth right now. They begin to not care about the storm at all. They begin to not care. So patience and self-forgiveness, being inside that storm shelter, what it also enables us to do is to find a more stable, anchored way of going through life. And we don't have to find it. For those people, the path appears. So if they've just stepped outside the storm shelter, having practiced all of that practice, they will automatically, when they take the first step, their step will be very deep. Automatically, when they take the second step, the step will be very deep. And once they've taken the first step or the second step, they'll know where to put the next foot on and how deep it must go, the foot already knows. So then it becomes an automatic, like it's a reflex action of showing up in life. And that's the practice that we aspire to. And when we are those people, and the ayah of the Quran of patience and forgiveness that I'm referring to is Surah Ashura. And it is whoever endures patiently and forgives, surely this is a resolve to aspire to. a resolve to aspire to. Because maza aana shuru hota hai, as aspire to. You begin to enjoy life, the human life, because your divine water is full and deeply nourished within you. And it is enough, it is enough, it is enough. And yes, then of course, because your stability is so deep and you're so clear and you're so full, naturally the storm will subside. But it doesn't need to. It's okay even if it doesn't, because you're not now attached to the storm, because it's already given you the message that it needed to give you, because it already has pushed you into the soul shelter where you exercise patience and you learn self-forgiveness. And now you're out again. It doesn't even need to be there anymore. It served its purpose, or of course it's died. Of course it'll die down. Until the next time where you're ready to build your resources a little bit more. ताकि दोबारा cracks जब appear होना शुरू हो जाते हैं सबके. For some of us, we feel that through life events very consistently, and sometimes we feel it in a chunk of 6-year cycles, 7-year cycles, 2-year cycles, 6-month cycles, whatever those cycles look like, because those are very deeply individual for each person. Risham, the ayah is Surah Ashura. This is Surah 49, verse 43. So 49, 43. That's the number code for this. It's a resolve to aspire to. You're welcome. And so, Ya Ghaffar Ya Ghafoor, to heal the cracks in our leather skin shells with beautiful nourishing liquid that we've been given, so that we may be able to have the access of self-forgiveness and self-compassion before that. And may we all be enabled, inshallah, to look at the storms in our lives as blessings. Simply as Allah's reminders कि बेटा आप काफ़ी देर से जिम नहीं गए हुए हो और आपको नज़र नहीं आ रहे आपके weak muscles, but मुझे नज़र आ रहे हैं, और मुझे नज़र आ रहा है कि खाली weak भी नहीं है, maybe now it's time for them to be even more strong and even more strong. And so our first response to life, whatever it is in life, may we all be enabled for our first response to be Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. And then perhaps our stay in the storm shelter becomes even more beautiful. Maybe there'll be wayfarers and passerbys who will say, oh my God, you're here. Can I come join you? So yeah, come. Then we practice like patience and self-forgiveness, self-compassion together in that storm shelter. And that's what the human life is about. So Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, thank you for being here.